One of the secrets to growing a $10 million a year landscaping company is making sure that you have consistent branding. It's part of what we teach in the CEO method here on the Green Mountain podcast, and I'm excited to talk to you about that today. I'm Gabe Arnold, and this is the Green Mountain podcast. We are the champions who brave the elements to create beauty. We see chaos and create order. We are never afraid of hard work, and we understand the power of strategic thinking and intentional actions. We come from all walks of life, and we will never allow our past to determine our future potential. We create beauty around the homes of our customers and increase the value of our community with the work that we do every day. We understand the power of consistent branding because it helps us grow and serve all those around us. We practice effective sales so our company, employees, and community can benefit from the value we add. We intentionally invest in operational habits that help us deliver excellent results to our customers on a continual basis. We understand that powerful and beautiful things take time to grow, and with consistent watering and intention, amazing results can happen. We are committed to making the world a better place by being positive examples to all those around us. We don't allow anyone to look down on us because we know the value we bring to our community as leaders. We create positive workplaces for our employees so they feel safe and supported, and at the same time, we hold ourselves to high standards. We pursue excellence on a daily basis because we know the journey is worth the sacrifice. We are the protectors of the land. We are the guardians of beauty. We are the heroes. We are landscapers. Part of the CEO method that we teach at Landscape Marketing Hero and here on the Green Mountain podcast is consistent branding. And one of the reasons why we do that is because it's virtually impossible to drive market desire. And what I mean by that is you can't force people in the community that you serve, where you work, in the areas where you work, you can't force them to reach out to you. I know that sounds kind of simple and obvious, but you can't force them to do that. And one of the stories that I always think about when it comes to marketing is back in the 70s, the car companies, Ford, General Motors were big ones. There was a couple other smaller ones then, but those were a couple big ones. And General Motors decided to, focus on safety in their vehicles. They were confident that safety was the wave of the future, that people were going to want safe cars, and that it was really important to start focusing on that and marketing how safe their vehicles were. And this was in the 70s. And in today's dollars, GM spent $1 billion branding and talking about how safe their cars were. And they wrote that $1 billion off as a total failure. And what's funny about that is what they learned in the process is that they wasted all this marketing dollars, they wasted all this effort, and they ended up going back to just focusing on what their community, what their audience wanted, which was they just wanted fast, powerful cars. That was the whole point. That was the whole focus of the market who was buying cars. But now today, it's very difficult if we fast forward 50 years, which is crazy to realize it's been 50 years. If we fast forward 50 years, it's very difficult to watch a car commercial or hear about a car where they don't talk about how safe it is, because that is now something that the market wants. And I always use that example because we can't force our community to want something that they don't want yet. But what we can do is we can be there for when they do want it. And that's what consistent branding is all about. You don't have the ability to force people to call you. You often don't have the ability to drive market behavior or to drive the behavior in your community of how people are going to reach out to you. But you do have the ability to use market best practices and marketing principles, even things you can do for free, which we're going to talk a little bit about today, in such a way that when the desire does come up in your community, and when the desire does come up with a specific prospect, they reach out to you. And that's because one of the things that we have to overcome with consistent branding, which is, part of getting out there and marketing your landscaping business, is we have to overcome this trust barrier. So I always explain this to the landscapers that we're working with and other folks. I always say, you have your prospect kind of walking along and, they know they might need your services, but then they reach this big vertical wall. And that vertical wall is a barrier. And on the other side of this wall over here is where your services are and where they want to pay you and hire you and use your services. But as they're coming along, they reach this wall. And this wall is distrust. They don't trust you because they don't know you. And that's a pretty fair, reaction. That's a fair reaction from anybody in your community who hasn't heard about you and doesn't know you. But there's a few different ways to lower that wall of distrust. But one of the easiest ones, and one of the ones that pays you the most in the long run, and you'll get return from time over time, is by just being consistent in your branding. Because every time this prospect who's walking along sees your advertising, sees your branding, and sees your vehicle wraps and your door hangers and yard signs and things we're going to talk about a little bit more here in a minute, every time they see that, their distrust starts to lower. And if you're consistent in that, eventually you're probably not going to get the distrust 100% gone, but you might get it to that 10 or 15 or 20% kind of barrier level. And then based on your conversations, how you show up with effective sales, all the other things that we'll teach you to do, they will be willing to jump over that small barrier and begin working with you. So that barrier of distrust can be lowered and almost eliminated, and sometimes honestly eliminated, but almost eliminated by consistent branding. Every time that your prospects who are in the communities that you work in see, the vehicle wrap on your trucks, your trailers, or your magnets, that's a time for them to go, oh, I've heard about that company. Maybe I'll use them sometime. Or every time they see your yard signs that you can put out there, again, these are inexpensive or free options that can be done. Same thing, another impression. They go, oh, there's that landscaping company again. And man, their work looks good too. Because your work is a huge part of your branding and your marketing too. And then every time that they see you post your before and after pictures, another great way to just put things out there for free on your Facebook page, your Instagram, and on your Google My Business profile, you put that out there and they see that and they go, man, that's really beautiful work. And if you're consistent in that, then an event in the future is going to happen to that prospect. There's multiple different events going to happen. I could never list them all, but some of the events that could happen would be, I mentioned this in our first episode. One of the events could be they're like, man, I'm sick and tired of mowing my own lawn, or you know what, this is way too big of a landscape design and implementation project for me. I'm going to need help. Or commonly does happen, they may get frustrated or tired of their current landscaper and say, I've got to try somebody else. This guy doesn't care. There's no attention to detail. This company is not for me anymore. And so, you know what? I've seen the signs of this other company. I've seen their work. I've seen their posts. I'm going to reach out to them. So that when that opportunity comes, you can't control, because again, all those things are kind of outside your control, but you can control the inputs of consistently branding. So things like I mentioned, vehicle wraps, magnets on your trucks, yard signs, door hangers that you can, your employees, your team can walk around the houses nearby you, put a door hanger on. There's a lot of strategies we're going to talk about as it relates to the branding, and that kind of crosses into some effective sales as well. You can post things on your social media. It's really important to start to train yourself and your employees to do before and after pictures and then immediately use them. It's a simple way to brand who you are and what you're doing, and a great way to get your name out there. And so again, when you're consistent in that branding, it starts off as just a little teeny, fleck of snow. And then as you keep branding, you keep sticking with it, and you do it for a few weeks, and then you do it for a few months, and then you do it for a year, and then you do it for a couple of years. I know that's a long timeline when we're thinking about how do I get, high quality, high profit customers in the door. But the longer that you invest in your consistent branding, the bigger that snowball grows. And then eventually you have so many impressions in your prospect's mind, and you've showed up in front of them in so many different areas, online, offline. And then ultimately they reach that point where they're frustrated with whatever's going on, or they're feeling the pain of having to deal with their landscaping in another manner, again, doing themselves, or having another provider that they're not happy with. And ultimately you've been over time lowering that barrier of distrust, and then they reach out and then they're considering working with you. And that's why it's really important to be consistent in our branding. Early on, these are things that you can do yourself. You can put in the extra time. And as you grow and as you go up the path of the Green Mountain to the top, to where you're going to build ultimately a $10 million a year landscaping company very profitably, without the stress and with all the things that you've seen other people go through. We have a map and a process that can take you through that. Ultimately, when you're consistent that way, then that's how the business is going to grow. And so again, in the beginning, you probably do a lot of this branding work yourself. You put in a little bit of extra time and you get the snowball built and rolling. And then ultimately, as you grow, you'll have the ability to have employees help you with it. You have the ability, if you want to, reach out to us at landscapemarketinghero.com, and you can reach out to us and we can help you with pieces of your branding. Because in the beginning, we have more time than money. And then as our business grows, if we're doing things correctly and we're following the Green Mountain path and the map that's going to take you to the top, then we should have more money than time. So there's really a simple process that we like to take our clients through as they're growing their landscaping business, even if their goal is just to get to $100,000 a year, or maybe their goal is just to do a couple $1 million a year. Whatever your goal is, we have a process where we can take you through that, and consistent branding is one of the foundational pillars that's part of that process. So those are just some ideas to help you start thinking about that and just start to think about the principles behind what makes consistent branding. Again, that's part of the CEO method that we teach: consistent branding, effective sales, and then operational habits that help you grow your landscaping business. So I appreciate you taking time to tune into the show today. If you have any questions or feedback or anything you want me to answer questions about or address on the show, please reach out, just drop a comment, or reach out to us on our website at landscapemarketinghero.com. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. If you're ready to begin your journey up the Green Mountain, where we show you how to build a low-stress, high-profit, $10 million per year landscaping company, then head over to landscapemarketinghero.com to download your free growth map. One of our guides will be there to help you along the way. Again, that's